What's up guys, my name is Dalton and this is my home. This is a 2020 Ram Promaster 2500. I got the 159-inch wheel base. I just wanted to take you guys on a quick tour through my van conversion and show you what's what. His name is Van Diesel. Obviously, he's a boy van. And I got this guy because I wanted a beach shack, but I couldn't afford one, so I made one. The cargo space in this thing is 12 feet long by about 76 inches wide. I think it's just over 6 feet wide. So all in all, I had about 72 square feet of actual living space to play around with. For the uninitiated, that's enough space to transport about 10 medium-sized goats. So right now I'm here in the bedroom where the magic happens. But let's actually start this tour over in the lounge. Here we are, guys, in the lounge. So when you walk into the van, one of the first things you'll see is this bench seat right here. I built the entire thing out of 2x2s, a couple slats, and this little foam topper that I got off of Amazon. Supposedly it's both waterproof and stain proof, but evidently that isn't the case. It's not what it looks like though. Those stains are just sweat and bodily fluids. That's what it looks like? No. Well, in that case, it's exactly what it looks like. First and foremost, the entire point of the bench seat wasn't actually to be a bench seat, but it was meant for surfboard storage. Actually, sitting on it was sort of an afterthought. In fact, once I added these cabinets right up here, I can't fully sit on it anymore or my head hits. Which is why I'm just barely sitting on the edge right now. I actually messed up that design a little bit. I meant to give it 24 inches of room underneath to store surfboards, but somewhere along the way, I actually only gave it 22 inches of room and I made the total height about 24 inches. So I made a wrong measurement or a wrong cut somewhere along the way. I don't really want to talk about it. Oops. The only longboard that I can actually fit under it now is my foamy, and it has to go in backwards and with the fin removed. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass. Maybe I'll change it someday, but for the time being, I'm way too lazy, so it stays as it is. For those of you who may be unaware, most longboard surfboards are like 23 inches wide minimum, and I just can't fit 23 inches underneath this guy. Yet. Not yet. So I made this bench seat sort of like a skeleton bench seat, if you will. I left it all exposed and open. I didn't put face plates or close it off because I really want to promote airflow, and also, again, a little bit lazy. I can either access my storage directly through here or also the top hinges open if need be. It stores my trash can, obviously my surfboard, my fishing rod, and it's quickly becoming the place I put all the random stuff that I don't really want to deal with. It also serves as my guest bed in case any visitors want to see how the other side lives. It's worth mentioning right now too, if anybody wants to learn how to build a van just like this, I created an entire van build series playlist on my channel. I'll link it down below, or you guys can just go to my channel. It's the only playlist that I have right now, and it'll show you guys how you can build this exact van if you wanted to. Probably looking at it like, why the hell would I want to build that? Honestly, there's probably better builds out there, but yeah, if you guys want to build this one, check it out. I might also be able to link it right up here, right by my forehead. Moving on to the swivel seat. Swivel. Here we are in the swivel seat. The swivel seat was sort of a late addition to the van build, and boy oh boy does it really open up the space. I don't even really sit in it that much because it's so much higher than the ground. My feet are like 5-6 inches from the floor, so I just swing my legs like I'm a little kid here. But honestly, just from the standpoint of it like opening up the space so much, I can't express how much it changes. Like, this felt like a cockpit before, and the back of the van felt like the living space, and once I just turn this swivel seat to the side, it just feels like it's all one big cohesive space. 10 out of 10 I recommend. Also, right underneath this swivel seat is my Webasto heater. I think it's called something like the Webasto STC Airtop 2000, something like that. I might have gotten that. I might have gotten that wrong. Anyway, this little heater fits perfectly under the seat. It taps right into the fuel tank, so I don't need to get any auxiliary supplementary fuel. I know some people have gotten heaters that run off of diesel, and so you need a separate diesel tank. I didn't want to have to deal with all of that mumbo jumbo, so yeah, I just got the gasoline Webasto. Webasto. It's German. I don't know, Webasto. Oh ja, ist der Webasto. That's my German impression. I don't actually use that heater too much for a couple of reasons. One, I live in Southern California. I'm in San Diego, and like it's January, what, 16th or 17th or something today. It's the dead of winter, and it's like almost 70 degrees and sunny out here. You just don't have that much need for a heater. I really got it in case I go snowboarding up in the mountains or something. But another reason I don't use it too much, because it will get a little chilly in here at night, I feel like when the heater's warming up that I can smell gasoline fumes a little bit, and it makes me really paranoid because I don't want to breathe any of that in. But also once it's warm, I don't think that I smell any fumes, so it's just a matter of that first like minute or two. So what I've been doing when I use it is I'll just have all the doors open. I will crank it on, let it get up to heat, and then I close everything up, and it gets this place, it can take this place from 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, of course, in like just a couple minutes. Like it's pretty damn quick. I also got a carbon monoxide detector in here just in case, and it hasn't gone off, so maybe the fumes thing is in my head. I don't know. The thermostat for it is just on the wall right over here, and it's blinking red because I haven't run it for like a week or two, and I think you're supposed to consistently run it like every couple of weeks, just to keep fuel in the line and keep everything like lubricated. I don't know, but yeah, it'll flash red at you when you need to run it. So after this video, I'll probably give it like a good 10-minute run and make sure everything's working just fine. It does actually have another mode that I use like all the time. It's a venting mode, and so I use this really when it's warm outside, but it basically just blows air, and it sucks air from underneath the van and it blows it in here. And so I've got my fan on exhaust, I've got my heater on vent, and so it's just blowing fresh air while the fan exhausts all my old air, and it just creates like a constant cycle of fresh air exchange in here, which if you like to breathe fresh air, that's obviously good, which I do, so. And this right here is the little exhaust for it. It's like my van's little wiener, I call it. He is a boy van after all, remember? I guess I should address the like floors and ceilings and walls here. The ceiling and walls all around are 1/4-inch cedar tongue and groove. It's super lightweight, it's rot resistant and insect resistant, supposedly. So I wanted to keep the weight to a minimum, especially the weight that ends up going up high. You definitely don't want to make your van top heavy. It's been pretty windy around here. I've driven out to Joshua Tree and they've got all the windmills there. I guess it's where there's a lot of wind, and it feels like the van just blows back and forth across the road. And so I definitely don't want this thing flipping over because I need it right side up in order to drive. I've never seen anyone drive a van on its side, and I don't think that's gonna start today. For the floor, I did a foam insulation layer. On top of that, I did 3/4-inch plywood. On top of that, I did like some sheet vinyl for waterproofing. And on top of that, I did the turf for style. Get a lot of compliments on the turf. I haven't seen anybody else do this. I'm not saying I'm the first one, but I might be the first one. It's really nice because if I have like pebbles or something stuck to my bottom, it's really nice because if I have some like pebbles or something stuck to the bottom of my feet from maybe walking around the beach, I can just kind of brush them on the turf and it gets them right off. And then I just vacuum this thing like once every couple of weeks, gets all the sand and miscellaneous pebbles, and we're good to go. If you guys have like hardwood floors in your house or whatever, it was the same thing as when I had the vinyl. I would just feel every little thing stuck to the bottom of my foot, and then at the end of the day, my feet just looked like absolutely dirty and disgusting. It's kind of a pain for me, so I much prefer the turf. Also, it gives it like a nice pop of color. It's green, it matches the sweet vines that I have in here, so I love it. All right, let's move over to the ceiling fan. So I mentioned the ceiling fan a minute ago when I was talking about having it on exhaust. This thing I would absolutely not live in a van without. I think it's one of the most important aspects of my van build. So there's a couple popular brands that people use. I opted for Max Air. I don't actually remember the name of the other one, but I think there's like 2 big ones. Anyway, I have no complaints about the Max Air thus far. Just a reminder, if you guys do want to check out any of the products I mentioned in here, I'm going to try to list them all down below. If I forget any and you're curious, just let me know in the comments and I'll share with you guys exactly what I used, if you guys want to use the exact same thing as me. So I have my van constantly going and it's constantly on exhaust mode. You can build up a lot of moisture with cooking, with your breathing, with extracurricular activities, whatever, and moisture in the van is bad for a couple reasons. It can rust the metal and it can rot the wood. Now my cedar is all rot resistant allegedly, but there's other wood that I did use in here. I have various plywoods. I have the 3/4 whatever like white wood that I used for my slats, or common board for my slats. You know, there are other woods, and so I do want to keep moisture to a minimum. Also, living by the beach, there's a little bit of that like ambient moisture and humidity that, again, it's going to get in here regardless, but if I can minimize any excessive moisture buildup, then I'm going to. But yeah, 10 out of 10. I do not think that I would do a van build without having some sort of venting fan. All right. Ugh. Sun's about to be blinding me in just a second. Moving on to the kitchen, the Taylor Kitchen. Any Taylor Kitsch fans? Listen to you. Put that backpack down. I didn't really care to add any faceplate or coverings. Again, airflow and motorcycle. Again, airflow, and I just kind of like, honestly, the exposed look. It gives me easier access to stuff and lets me just monitor things, make sure I don't have a big leak underneath my gray water tank or something. But anyway, the whole kitchen is built out of 2x3s, 1/4-inch plywood, and this butcher block that I actually scored for free. Long story short, because I think I've told the story before, I was at Home Depot, I was looking for a butcher block. The lady in the kitchen department told me, she goes, "Hey, there's one on clearance over here if you're interested." And I was like, "I'll look at it." And I looked at it and it was like 50 bucks. So the manager tried for like a half hour to get the system to process it, and it wouldn't for whatever reason. I think it had already been marked for return to the warehouse. And so eventually she was like, "I can't sell this to you, so I'm just gonna give it to you." And I said, "Hell yes, thank you so much." She just told me to leave a good review, which I did. And I don't know if she was supposed to do that or not, so I'm not gonna rat her out, Home Depot, so don't ask. But yeah, scored, because these butcher blocks can be like, I think they can be a few $100. For this one's like maybe 6 foot. And yeah, to get it for free 99, it's a good deal in my book. I built this little cabinet here that kind of holds all my my silverware and my cookware. I spent like 7 hours trying to get the sliders right on this thing before I was talking to my dad, and I'm like, "I just cannot get the sliders on this. I don't know why." And he was like, "Do you think they could be bent?" And I'm like, "No, of course they can't be bent. They're fine." And I looked at them closer, and sure enough, there was a little corner of them that was bent up, and so my drawer, instead of stopping, would just slide all the way out. They weren't in place. It was just a total pain in the ass. So once I went and bought a couple fresh sliders, they went right in minutes, but it was too late because I'd already hacked up the face of my drawer a little bit, trying to like Frankenstein this thing to make it fit. But whatever, it just gives the van a little bit of character, I think. Underneath here is where my fridge originally was, but constantly bending over to get into it was a total pain. And especially I've been dealing with a back injury for like 3 or 4 months now. I haven't even been able to surf or do anything, which is totally lame. But having this fridge down here is just so impractical, especially if anyone else is in the van helping me cook. Everyone has to step aside to slide it out, and it was just a disaster. So I ended up moving the fridge out of there, and now this space is just sort of a storage for like, I've got my cast iron, my air fryer. During the day, I throw my window covers on there that I put in the windows to sleep at night, and then it just has my like wetsuit dry bucket. So I'm gonna do something with it eventually. I'm just not really sure what I want to do with it right now. So that's just kind of the state of that. And I do all my cooking in either the air fryer or with my induction burner. So I'm kind of a minimalist. I just have the one cast iron pan and then one stainless steel pot with which I cook everything in. Moving on to the sink, this was about as big as I could get away with. I think the dimensions on this thing were about 20, maybe 2 inches long by like, I don't even know. I don't remember. I'll link it below so you guys can get the exact dimensions, or maybe I'll put it on the screen here. But this was pretty much the biggest I could get away with fitting in my van kitchen. It works fine, but there are a lot of days I wish that I had something bigger. If I had $1 for every time I thought that. I have a 28-gallon water tank that mounts over the wheel well for that good space efficiency. And that runs into the water pump, which runs through a water filter, which subsequently runs right out of this faucet. The faucet can swivel all the way around and be used as a shower, but mostly I use beach and gym showers. Any water from dishes and such goes right into my gray water tank. I have a 5-gallon gray water tank. It's just some plastic tub that I got off of, I think I got off Amazon, and it works fine, holds the water. Up next is the cabinets, the upper cabinets. The upper cabinets, these things absolutely sucked to make. Trying to get the weird angles along the walls, trying to line up the hinges, just trying to cut the wood with straight edges while using a circular saw instead of a table saw. It was nightmarish. Hands down the most frustrating part of the build for me, and I built my entire electrical system without any experience. So if that tells you anything, let it tell you. This was frustrating. So I've got the cabinet in the back for clothing, and I have my miscellaneous junk cabinet. And then up front, I have my food storage, and I have my toiletries. You know, you got that random junk drawer in your house probably where it accumulates a bunch of random like rubber bands, there's pens, there's probably like a random baby pacifier. You might have a board game, a towel, whatever. That's basically what that cabinet in the back is. So I just tried my best to get these things like lined up and functional. I told myself that once everything was installed, I was going to sort of beautify them. I was going to sand them, paint them, get them looking really nice. But God, you know what? It just seems like such an undertaking that I do not want to undertake. I threw these magnets on here to help hold them closed, but I don't know. They don't work that well. This front one kicks open all the time, and not all the time, but every once in a while, and I'll have some like cashews fly out onto the floor if I take a hard turn. It's fine though, there's nothing breakable in there, it's just miscellaneous food. Anything with like jars or such, I put in this little middle section, and they are reinforced with this board here, so they're not going anywhere. Also, these little hydraulic lifts that I threw in here work amazingly. I even tried putting one on either side, so I would have 2 per cabinet, and they're so strong that I could pretty much not even close the cabinet. Like, it felt like I was gonna snap the wood before the cabinet would close. All right, well, let's cruise back over to the bed. So for the bed, I basically screwed 2x6s, one in either side of the van. Then I connected 2x4s running across the van, just held into those 2x6s with some joist hangers. And then I just threw some 3/4 inch slats across the top. Might be 1/2 inch slats. I don't remember. After that, I just bought a foam mattress off of Amazon. I took a bread knife, I cut it down to size, and voila, you got yourself a bed. It was a pretty easy project overall. When I originally built the van, I put a king size mattress in this thing, which in hindsight was a little bit excessive, but I really value my sleep. So I recently reduced the size of the bed. I think it came out about 70 inches, and now it's, I wanna say 42 inches. So I cut out, you know, a solid 28 inches here, which opens up the space so much. It makes the van literally feel like twice the size that it used to. It used to stop right here, and now I can walk all the way back here. I used to be able to sleep either way with my feet kind of dangling off the edge here, or sleep across the van. And now I really only have the one way to sleep, which is across the van. It is with the walls sort of inset here a little bit. It's like 76 inches in length exactly, I think. I'm 6'1", which is 73 inches. So once you factor in the pillow, it's a little snug sometimes, but I mostly sleep corner to corner, and that gives me a few extra inches worth of sleeping room. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, anybody? That'll give you the exact length that I'm able to sleep if I go corner to corner. You're probably like, I don't care, I'm not here for math class. By leaving the walls recessed here, I just kind of reduced the amount of insulation that I put in there. There's still a little bit, but yeah, I just used a little bit less. And again, it granted me like an extra 2 inches on either side for a total of like a 4-inch gain, which is pretty substantial when I'm already kind of pushing the limits of what may fit right here. Speaking of insulation, I guess I should mention, I insulated this entire van, ceiling and walls, with Havelock sheep's wool. It cost a few bucks. I think it was like 600 bucks in total for the insulation, but you know, it's all natural. I think it's hypoallergenic or something. I really am kind of weird about the, like, using weird chemicals or anything in the van. Sometimes even like just being in a house and like burning a candle, I'm like, oh God, what am I breathing in here? What's in this candle? But yeah, using something that I just considered like the all natural option, it makes me feel a lot better about my health. I don't feel like I'm breathing in anything weird, especially if I got the door closed and I'm in here just breathing all day long. It doesn't seem like I'm poisoning myself, which is cool because I don't want to be poisoned. Back to the bed. Actually, by reducing the size of the bed, I was able to build this little table here, which has pretty much become the home for my blender and Keurig, both of which I really use like just about every day. If you guys have seen any of my other videos, you know I'm constantly making kefir smoothies with my blender, and I definitely drink the regular cup of coffee. So having the Keurig there, it's just super simple, super nice. Again, less dishes than doing it in like a French press. That's the main reason that I have the Keurig. Just simplify things. And if I haven't mentioned before, I hate doing dishes. Before I had this little table with like the permanent home for the blender and whatnot, I would have to set it up every time I used it. I would have to pull it out from underneath, get it set up, plug it in, and it doesn't sound like that much maybe, but every day it eats up like an extra minute or two of time. And I like the simplicity. I like having the direct access to it, and it's really important for me. Right now I just have the P tape wrapped around them. It's a little bit ghetto, but it does the job. It holds them in place. They haven't flown off yet while I've taken any sharp turns. So another pro of reducing the size of my bed, it allowed me to move my fridge up here, which is just like a nice, good access for me. I can just get whatever I need in my fridge and freezer. I don't have to hunch over and bend over and deal with my back pain every time I want to get something out to cook. And this thing only pulls like 2 amps per hour, so it's super energy efficient. It's naturally, it's on 24/7, just like my fan, and I have no problem keeping my batteries charged up. Only thing I've noticed really is now that it's next to the bed, when the compressor kicks on, it kind of vibrates the bed, and so sometimes it'll like startle me in the middle of the night. The thing just kicks on, starts vibrating, and I'm like, who's there? And other times it's almost like a sweet, sweet rocking of me to sleep. You know, it's like the mattress subtly vibrates. It's actually a little bit nice. So every night is a surprise. Every night is a mystery. I don't know if I'm gonna get a nice rocking to bed or I'm gonna have a startling intruder. Also, I did cover it in another video, but I have a wireless router from T-Mobile. It costs me like 50 or 60 bucks a month. I have unlimited data. I haven't really been anywhere that I haven't been able to get service. Even out in Joshua Tree, it was slow service, but I was still getting service, which is crazy because none of our phones were able to get service. So I'm mostly living just right around the beach in the city where there's regular internet access anyway. So I don't need to like go in on a whole Starlink, at least not yet. Yeah, that little router works like a charm. So directly underneath my bed, or really underneath my fridge, is my electrical system. No part of the build intimidated me more than building my electrical system. I know almost nothing about electronics. This was actually the only part of the van build where I was gonna outsource it. So I went and talked to this company that does van conversions, and I was like, I already have the parts. I think most of the big pieces. I had the battery, I had the inverter, I had the charge controller, I had kind of the bigger chunks of what I needed. So I explained to them what I wanted and asked how much it would be to just build like a fairly minimalist system. And they quoted me just for the labor, $5,000. That wasn't factoring in any of the wires, breakers, and connectors, maybe something else, I don't remember. But it was gonna be no hardware, just labor was $5,000. And I was like, wow, well, I don't have $5,000 to spend on this. So let's see what else we can do. So I started trying to learn about 12-volt electrical systems. And I came across this dude. He has a YouTube channel. His name is Will Prouse. And he had so much good information about just building, like how to build a 12-volt electrical system. And I spent probably 3 weeks watching this guy's videos. He has a website too with a forum. So I was talking to people on the forum. I was talking to people on Reddit. I was talking to customers at my workplace that they would come in and be wearing like an electrician shirt or something, and I would just start picking their brain, and I was like trying to learn everything I could about electrical systems. And so after about 3 weeks, I felt pretty confident in building my own, which is exactly what I ended up doing. I just built my own system, and once you gain the understanding, it was so easy to do. I literally built the entire system in like a single day. It was probably 7 to 10 hours of total work. Literally, it's like once you see the way in one thing, you see it in everything, I think is like a quote maybe from The Art of War or maybe from Bruce Lee or something. I don't remember. But I'm like, once you understand the fundamentals of like a 12-volt electrical system, you just throw it together like nothing. And again, if I had to build this whole electrical system from scratch, it would take me like a long afternoon. It couldn't be easier. So then with that information in mind, I was like, how are these guys going to charge me $5,000 for labor? Like, they could have done it so quickly. And I don't know. I don't get it. It seemed kind of like disrespectful. I know with like doctors, they say you pay the high prices not because of like how long the actual visit takes with the doctor, because it takes a couple minutes, but you're also paying for all the time they invested in their medical school and the time they spent learning, which I get. But also, like, I learned how to build this 12-volt system in like a few weeks of casual talking and studying, and that knowledge is definitely not worth, in my opinion, $5,000. Anyway, yeah, learn to do it yourself. Save $5,000, and now if something does go wrong in the system, I can fix it myself. So more about the system specifically, I got just about everything from Renogy, which I have mixed feelings about them as a company, but it's done well enough. I have a 200 amp hour lithium battery. I have a 3000 watt inverter, which I know is oversized for the system, but it was an open box deal. It was cheaper than the 2000 watt inverter, and so I just took it, and I'm like, if I ever add another battery or something, then I'll have that extra inverter wattage to play with. And then I just have my charge controller, which has an input for both solar and from my alternator, and those are the main components. On the roof is 4 100 watt solar panels, and they keep everything charged up just fine. To be fair, I am in, again, San Diego, California, and it's gotta be one of the sunniest places in the world. I love it. I do a lot of cooking with my induction burner, which will burn through some energy. I have my fan always going. I always have my fridge going naturally. The lights are on every night. I'm charging my electronics, and every day by the time I'm going to bed, my batteries are pretty much at 100%. Again, it is also connected to the alternator, so the batteries also get charged when I drive around. So if maybe I'm camping somewhere where there's not much sunlight, there's a lot of trees, or maybe I just get a few cloudy days, I can always just drive around, and as I do, that replenishes the batteries as well. I think it's just nice to have both options available. So yeah, 200 amp battery, 400 watts of solar. We're chilling here in San Diego. It's not really part of the van build, but I do also have my composting toilet from Trolino. I try not to poop in that thing too often, but I do pee in it probably every day, and especially for having in a pinch, it is a godsend. I'll link it down below if anyone cares to check it out, but I've done like entire videos about it. Actually, for the video, I'll just link it right up here too. So underneath the bed, I just wanted to build a little bit of extra storage. This was also a recent addition. For the longest time, I was just piling, I had like a pile of wetsuits and random BS that had accumulated underneath the bed. And I was like, I need to organize this or something. So I have these 4 bins and this little storage that I built here out of 2x2s. One bin is for my surfing stuff, one bin is for my diving stuff, and then the other 2 are just miscellaneous things. I think there's a first aid kit, there's a couple tools, there's some duct tape, just like random stuff that I may need access to sometimes, but not really that regularly. All right, guys, that's gonna be it. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys could do me a big fat favor and hit that like button down below, it would help me out a ton. If you guys have any questions, comment down below. I think I've answered every single question I've ever gotten on the channel, and so I'm happy to talk about this stuff all day long. I'm trying to keep that streak alive. Also, I'm gonna mention it one last time. I'm gonna link the van build series right down below. If you guys wanna learn to build your own van exactly like this one, I've documented the entire process. And with that, I bid you adieu. Till next time.